Hi and welcome to the 64 doors. Today we're going to open door 51. Here we find the archetype of thunder, and we call it like that because it's made up of 2 elemental trigrams of thunder in the I Ching. This archetype is all about courage, shock, and initiation. We're going to look at this archetype from a human design perspective and a gene key perspective, and we want to understand what this energy means when we find it in a chart. So let's start. Right now, we have the Sun in Aries in gate 51, the Earth in Libra in gate 57, and the design part of the cross is 54 and 53. This cross in human design is what we call the right angle cross of penetration. And it's made up of the 51 that has to do with shock and initiation, the 57 that has to do with intuition and clarity, the 54 that has to do with ambition and aspiration, and the 53 that has to do with beginnings and expansion. So the way of explaining it in human design is you're here to get to the point with your shocking and penetrating energy. Your cross is about cutting through all the extras and getting right into the heart of the matter, or getting to the answer without a lot of fluff. You will probably do this in a shocking way and with gall as your lead energy is tied to the gallbladder. In your efforts to be so blunt, you may help clear the way for others, although that is secondary for your need to do it and get it done. So this is tied to the circuitry. So when we look, if we go back and look at the circuitry, let us do maybe this. So we can see that the 51 comes out of the willpower, of the heart muscle. The key word is willpower, egoism, the material world, and self-worth. So it comes out from the center, and it's the only gate in the willpower center that is individual. So it does it for its own sake, but by doing it is going to inspire initiation in other people. And it meets the 25th gate in the G center. And as you can see, it's the only channel that connects the G center to the ego center or the willpower center. When we look at it in the circuitry, we see it's called the channel of initiation, and it's a design of needing to be first. So a couple of weeks ago, we were in the 25 that has to do with innocence. It's the archetype of love that gets so many shocks in life so that it could end up disappointed and giving up. But actually, all these shocks is just making it more in faith of that the innocence is the only way to kind of deal with all the shock, with all the things on the outside, because through that love it's going to break through all the layers, and that's the power that is the strongest of everything. So the 25 is attracting shock, and that's the circuitry. We can see that we have it here in the G center that has to do with love, direction, and identity, and it is the heart muscle that is tying into it and giving it that shock. So together they are creating this channel of initiation. So the shock and love come together. And this is also in the mystical keynote what we call the channel of the shaman. Because if we just have shock, it's like it's not necessarily leading anywhere. But when we have shock with love or universal love, that becomes the medium for an initiation of something completely new and something that is evolving in a higher frequency all the time. So the quick reference theme for this channel is: your life is a series of leaps into the unknown. You are born with the spirit of a warrior, and you're here to learn to walk your path on your own. Take courage, leap when the need calls, and worry about the consequences afterwards. So it has this energy of doing something before it thinks or before anybody else has done it. We can see again that it's about the individual circuitry, and also that it has this warrior energy. And like we were seeing right before, is that this is an Aries energy. So there is a very strong warrior theme in here. If we go to the keywords, I think they're here, right? So in the keywords, we can see that the internal motivator is about being first or initiating new ways, acting on the inner spark, discovering the individual truth. The positive attributes: courageous, creative, and independently empowered. And the Achilles heel can be this, the shocking just for fun without actually really having an agenda, or even the lack of caution, because sometimes it can even lead to death if we jump, too far too soon. And then there is this other, since it's an individual circuitry gate, this is about melancholy. That's one of the keywords for the individual circuitry. So the melancholy about the lack of excitement is the Achilles heel for this archetype. And then we can go in just briefly into the Gene Key shadow pattern. So the victim of impatience. And we know that the shadow is agitation. So they go hand in hand. And this can either be pessimistic or pushy. The repressive nature has to do about being a coward, about repressing that agitation and feeling it on the inside. And of course, that is very detrimental also for the physical vehicle. And the reactive nature is about hostility. So really projecting that rage or that agitation out into the world and not really caring about the consequences in others. So and when we go to the living library, we can see the whole frequency band: agitation, initiative, and awakening. And even a little bit more in detail, the portal of fears is agitation, stirring good fortune is initiative, and the thunder of your giving is awakening. And we also see the programming partner, how what's on the other side of the wheel is agitation is paired with unease, initiative is paired with intuition, and awakening is paired with clarity. And when we look in the body graph, again, we can see that the two centers that are activated here, it is that heart center and it's the splenic center. So it's something very physical. The heart is the heart muscle in this case, because the more spiritual or existential heart is the G center. Here we're speaking basically about the heart muscle. So it's very physical, and also the splenic center it is about instinct and fear. So it's also a very physical energy. So when we have these two programming partners together, we are speaking of something very physical. The agitation and unease that is paired in those programming partners is very palpable. It's something we can really feel in the skin, on the skin. And for me, for example, I have unease, the 57, it's my core wound. And then the 25 is my, it's my Venus, my personality Venus. So my IQ. So I have both the programming partner and the harmonic gate, which means that I am basically attracting shock by mechanics. And in my life, this 51 has been so present. And also my life cycle from my Saturn return up to my next return, which I guess is the Chiron return, is the cross of penetration with the 51 as my purpose. So this 51 energy is so present in my life. Although when I look at my birth or my natal human design chart of gene keys, it's not in there. So also starting to look, do you have the programming partner? Do you have the harmonic gate? And even know that this can be stronger because you're attracting it from the outside. If you have it in your chart, and especially if you have it in a defined center, then it's like you're living it out by design and it's right for you. When you have it in an open center, or you don't have it, but you have the harmonic gate and the programming partner, it's almost like you're attracting it from the outside. But since it's not yours, you're kind of under the influence of it from the outside, and it can be there in a low frequency of agitation or in a higher frequency of awakening. So it's a little bit more risky, you could say. And actually this gate is all about risk. So it's kind of doubled up. So if we go and look at the I Ching, like I was saying in the beginning, it's thunder over thunder, and we call it arousing. So powerful energy. And here, even more powerful, thunder and lightning erupt suddenly. The dragon awakens, igniting the spiritual transmission through fast changing energy. So, and also when you look at the geometry, you see usually there is one word, and then you have one word for one trigram or element, and the other word for the other element. But here you have, it's all about thunder, because it's thunder over thunder. So that's also no geometry, just two elements of the same. So awakening realization. And it goes together with the astrology that is also, it's about Aries. Aries is the spark that ignites the fires of pioneering purpose and the service to others in the way of the warrior's will. So powerful energy that goes together with adventure, with independence. And in the low frequency, it's about selfishness, but in the high frequency, it's initiating the masses. This is something I spoke with, or actually that Ashley made me see, because for me, this was a very individual circuitry gate. And when we look at the consequences, if you want, in the world, actually it is awakening the masses, although that's not its main purpose. And in integral human design, we can see that that this is the circuit I was speaking about, the stream of centeredness. So selfishness, centeredness, and spirit, and it's what combines the ego with a G, with a sacral. And it's about uniqueness, because it is individual circuitry again. So it's not necessarily for others, but it is going to have an influence in the world. I also thought it was cool, the scorpion, the weasel, and the condor. Those are powerful animals in their own ways, right? And what more? Channel of uniqueness, gallbladder. I've also seen, I have somebody close to me that has the same activation sequence as me, and it's an ego manifester. She has the 25 51 as her only channel, and when she was 16 she had surgery in her gallbladder because she has stone in it, and then when she turned 72 she got cancer in what was left between the, not the gallbladder, but what was left of it, and the liver. So to really understand how powerful this is, and it's actually physical, like we were saying, we have it in the ego center, which is very physical. So that's what can happen probably when we don't, if we have manifestor energy and we have this channel, it's here to be expressed, it's here to ignite initiation. And if you're more in the repressive your whole life, then your body is going to speak for you. So that's something to think about. So I am thinking about this week of looking, at your courage. Where in your life do you have courage, or where do you lack of courage? Where in your life may your risk taking go almost to the point where it's becoming foolishness? I'm also thinking about competitive energy. So maybe in your relationship, is your competitive energy creating conflict, for example, in your relationships? It can also be a good week to think about spirit, because when we're just in this energy that is kind of powerful, right? If we don't have spirit that kind of lifts it up, and the love of spirit even, then it can kind of burn us. So to look at the relationship between the 25 and the 51, and if you want if you want to feel some of the 25 energy, you can just go to the door 25 and look at the resources in there to understand. For me, it's so important to always pair those two energies. And maybe because I'm all about shamanism and all about transformation, and for me, the hardness somehow, or the harshness of the 51 that is just shock sometimes, it's just going to kind of shake us down on the floor. And the thing that is going to make us rise up is spirit. It is that love. So for me as well, with my incarnation cross, I have the cross of the Sphinx, which is all in the G center, and it's about direction. And I often can feel this kind of agitation in my body. I can see somebody's potential, but I can see also that there are shadows and blockages in the way. So I just want to take the person and I want to shake them down into the ground. And I know if I do that just with the energy of shock, and I don't put the energy of love with it, nothing is going to happen. It can actually just break the person down. So for me, it's so important to understand that the mystical part of this gate is always the combination of those two archetypes, the archetypes of love with the archetypes of thunder. They are always here to go hand in hand. So thank you for today. Bye.